Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome to Spotlight. In just a moment, the spotlight is going to shine on the Director of BVI Ports Authority, Mr. Clark Skelton Klein, and Managing Director of PMI Capital Services, Mr. Clarence Faulkner, who is a placement agent for Tortola Ports Park Limited. That's a special purpose vehicle for the investment in a cruise pier and landside development. You will have an opportunity to ask all the questions you want about the cruise pier development and its investment in the landside development this evening. So you stay tuned to Spotlight. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go directly to Mr. Klein and Mr. Faulkner because there are a lot of questions to be asked, and I know you have some of your own. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. Keep it locked.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands and CCT Global Communications.
Life's like a mountain you must climb. Life is like a treasure you must find. A baby learning how to talk. Just one step begins to walk. One step at a time will lead you to paradise. Your dreams are there to find. One step to paradise.
Did you do this? Are you doing this? You will be fined or jailed. You're hurting our community. You're hurting our economy. We must take a stand. Act now and report illegal dumpers to the Department of Waste Management at 468-4934. Stop illegal dumping in our country.
It's not even about being bigger. David and Goliath taught us that. It's about being better than you were yesterday. At CCT, we're committed to building on better. Better music downloads, better videos, better online gaming, better internet so your kids can get their homework done at better hours. Better customer support when you need it the most. A better everything makes a better BVI so that you could work better and live better. You see, at CCT, we're not only a local company, we're a better company with the real 4G network. Visit your CCT flagship store today and experience CCT Life Unlimited.
Cheers to a 2-day island adventure in Anegada. Indulge on signature spiny lobster dishes prepared by Anegada's talented chefs at the 2nd annual Anegada Lobster Festival. Each participating restaurant will serve their unique twist on this favorite Caribbean Ocean catch. Navigate your way around the island and make your own memories from this entertaining and festive culinary experience. Mark your calendars and head to the Drowned Island for the final weekend of BVI Food Fest this November on the shores of Anegada. Visit www.bvifoodfest.com or call the BVI Tourist Board at 494-3134 for more information.
Welcome back to Spotlight. Now I'm going to go right to my two good brothers, Brother Clark Skelton Klein. Good to see you, my brother.
Good to be here.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
And Brother Clarence Faulkner.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good to have you brothers on Spotlight. I'll put the spotlight on you tonight. I want to start with you, Brother Klein. A little background information about the rationale for the cruise pier development, expansion of the dock, and the need for a landside development. The dock needs to be widened and lengthened. Why, how did that come about? Why is that?
Yeah, well, obviously, the cruise industry has changed. The Caribbean is still takes the bulk of global cruise tourism, and the ships that are being built now by the 4 major cruise lines, minimum 4,000 passenger ships, 2,000 to 2,500 crew members. So obviously, with the new class of ships that's coming on stream, some that's already on stream, our current facilities are not able to accommodate those large ships in terms of the draft, in terms of the length, in terms of the tonnage. So if we were to remain in the cruise tourism industry, it was incumbent upon us to rebuild the facilities to accommodate those classes of ships. And because tourism is one of the two major pillars of our territory, and it's a singular one that cannot be outsourced, we must do everything in our power to ensure that we as the BVI Ports Authority provides the facilities to accommodate these kinds of ships. And so we, the Royal Caribbean's Quantum, NCL's Breakaway and Getaway, Disney's Dream and Fantasy, even Mineshaft, the ship, they are building bigger ships in the industry. And so to remain competitive, we embarked upon this journey some 2 years ago, and we are delighted that we are at this good place now where we are 55% in terms of construction completion on the marine side. We are moving with diligent haste in the building of the landside development. But to your answer to your question is singularly, we currently do not have the facilities that can accommodate the new class of ships, and therefore under the directions of this government and this minister for the subject in particular, we were charged and challenged to ensure that we come into the 21st century in providing the facilities to accommodate these ships.
I want to take a look at a slide that shows what it means to have the longer pier and the wider pier.
Sure.
Because I think it shows some interesting aspect that I hadn't thought about, and that's the size, the width of the ship on the top. You know, you have the ship on the bottom seems to be narrower than the width of the ship on the top. And when you look at, if you look at the slide on the screen there, explain to us what's happening there with the space between the ships when both of them are docked to the side.
Yeah, and Clarence, our partner in this, who have done such an excellent job in the presentation of this material into one compendium. Clarence, you want to speak to this?
Yeah. This is specifically two of the larger ships berthing at the current facility, whereby the pier currently is 45 feet in width. And because of the construction of the ships as they are, you can see a pier of that width. With both ships at the dock at the same time, there is a high probability that they will actually touch at the top. If the dock is not widened, then this is a concern and a risk that we pose with those larger ships coming in. So there is a specific need to increase the width of the pier from roughly 40 to 45 to 60 feet in width. The previous slide that I think you had up earlier speaks specifically to one of the reasons, or the main reason, why we need to lengthen the dock. Now, the red dot to the front of the current ship, that basically is the entrance door or the exit door for the passengers to disembark the ship. The way the pier was at its current length, those persons will not be able to come off the ship. So one of the simple reasons as to why the pier itself needs to be extended.
Right.
So their door, the longer ship's door would actually be in the water,
so to speak.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Right. So we are, so to understand, we are lengthening, widening, and strengthening the existing dock. We are lengthening it to 1,312 feet 8 inches. The width will be at 60 feet, and at a tonnage minimum of 180,000 tons to meet the specification of the new classes of ships that's coming on stream. So that's what you see reflected in the pictures.
Okay. How much does this is this going to cost us, this development?
The total development cost will be right around $57,000.
And broken down into
57,000, I wish. 57 million, that's with an M.
Yeah.
$31 million on the marine side.
That's the dock,
On the
pier
dock.
itself.
Yeah. There's $5 million that we're currently spending on the substructure work on the land side. And there's another 20 million or so that's on the verticals, the development of the buildings, the land. Now, I say that the total development cost at this moment is right around 57. We are engaging in what is called value engineering. So it is our intention to pull that figure closer to 50 than it is at this 57 where we currently sit. So value engineering will continue to take place throughout the course of this project. Obviously, we have loan funding for $35 million, which the public should very much be aware about.
That's for the dock, the pier itself.
It's for both. It's for the pier, and it's a portion for the land side, as was passed in the House of Assembly by this government. So there's a loan funding component of $35 million that we've been able to attain through CIBC, and then we are raising $16.5 million in the public offering that which Clarence will speak to in some detail on tonight. So it's those two figures coming together. It's the 35 plus the 16 in which we hope to have what will in fact be our budget. And that's why I mentioned and emphasize the value engineering exercises that will continue to take place throughout the course of this project.
As brief as you can, what does value engineering mean?
Well, it means that, they tell us the BCQSs of the world, who is a consultant of ours, will say to us, this building costs $1.7 million, and we would say, yeah, that's according to your figure, but we needed to bring it in at 1.2. And so what needs to happen in terms of the engineering, in terms of the design, in terms of the roofing, in terms of some of the specs, what kind of bricks you're using, what kind of tree, what's the shrubbery, what's the height, what's the size, all of those things drive the price. So we will end up, one, with two things are important for us. A project that has structural integrity and is aesthetically pleasing. And so as we go through the process of speaking to specific items which we can bring in at a lower cost, we will seek to do so.
Okay. That's good? Yeah. Okay. We got to check with our Clarence, make sure everything is in order.
Absolutely. That's why he's with us.
That's right. Now, how far along are we? And are we on schedule for the next tourist season? Because that is really a big question for not just the taxi drivers, but the stores and the boutique owners and so on, restaurants and so on.
Yeah. Well, to your question, the next cruise tourism season is in essence and in fact will not be until October 2015. What I can tell you in terms of our schedule, we are 55% complete as of today's report on the marine side. We've driven 100 out of 100 and a total of 90 piles that needs to be driven. There's 100 that's been driven thus far. We have commenced construction on the land side with our terminal building that will come at a turnkey on February 5th of 2015. We have commenced and issuing contracts for another additional 5 to 6 buildings over the next 30 days. We'll be issuing those contracts. So we will accelerate the pace on the landside development. Now let me peel back. According to the berthing agreements that the BVI has been able to attain, what is important to note is this. There's only 28 destinations in the entire Caribbean. 16 of those 28 destinations are private islands, which means that they are owned, operated by some cruise lines. So what the BVI has been able to attain by securing 2 berthing agreements with 2 of the major cruise lines, there's only 4 in the entire industry, major cruise lines. The BVI has been able to secure 2 15-year berthing agreements. at a head charge of $15 per head over the next 15 years, which values $100 million on the face, not calculating the escalations that's built in to the head charges and the line charges and all of the ancillary charges. So just going into the project on the face value, you have a value of $100 million with Norwegian Cruise Line and Disney Cruise Lines. So right now, if you go to any of the conferences, any of the conventions in the cruise industry, the BVI is the envy of the region, because it's unheard of that two major cruise lines will engage in that kind of a long-term agreement. So for the first time, the reason why this is such a game changer, and Clarence will give you the specifics, for the first time in the history of the BVI, beginning in the next tourist season, we will move to 52-week-a-year cruise tourism. I want to say that again. It's not going to be a high and a low season or a high and no season. It will be 52 weeks a year cruise tourism. NCL has a quantum of 350,000 passengers that they must bring to the shores or pay for each year. They have to book a minimum of 2 ships per week in order to meet their quota. DCL, Disney Cruise Lines, has a 75,000 passenger threshold. But Quanwell, if you notice, Disney just on last week issued their 15-16 schedule. They are selling the BVI now. And if you notice what they're offering, they are scheduled to bring 125,000 passengers, which will be 50 more thousand passengers than the berthing agreement requires, which is only 75,000. So we are looking, our estimated cost already is about 605,000 passengers that we will see within that first 18 to 24 months of the opening of this new cruise pier development. So to your question, will we be ready? Absolutely yes. If by that you mean that the cruise season that commences October 2015, we will be more than ready. We are scheduled to have what is called substantive completion, which means that we must be 90% complete by April 1st of 2015. Right? So that means the pier is complete, 90% of our buildings are up. There must be at least 50% occupancy of those facilities.
Will you be accepting cruise ships to the completed pier without the land side being totally complete?
Absolutely. Once the pier is complete, we will begin to allow berths at the pier. It's less expensive for us as the BVI pier in the territory. It's more convenient and conducive for the cruise line that passengers can just disembark on the pier. So we will certainly be doing that, and we're looking to be doing that beginning the first week in March. Right now we have all of our lines at anchor to allow the contractor unfettered access so as to make up some of the time that's been lost, that they can bring the pier in by the end of February 2015. So that's why we've made this move, and we're facilitating the tendering of all the ships that's been put to anchor. And I want to add something right there. What the public should know is that we have had no cancellations. European lines that has been more strong in the last season as well as in this season, there have been no cancellation, contrary to whatever we've heard, and even sometimes there's been a misstep with some information that came out of my shop. The fact of the matter is, there's been no cancellations on our calls, with the exception of between October and December. Royal Caribbean had 6 calls, and they canceled 5 of those 6 calls. The one that they kept was a charter special needs call that was had 2 Sundays ago. But what I want to say clearly and concretely and credibly is that there have been no other cancellation, contrary to what you may have heard, in this cruise tourism season.
Does this mean that Royal Caribbean is going to start up again in the next season, or they're going to just cut back on ships coming to the BVI?
And let's be clear, we've met at the highest level with the CEOs and COOs of Royal Caribbeans, and our counterparts, including our ministers, have had the same meeting. And what Royal Caribbean have said to us is that as long as the pier is ready, we will call. But please know that it's not in our best interest to anchor and tender. It just becomes more costly. And it's true for all of our cruise partners. No one really wants to go to tender. It's not the best guest experience.
Yes.
So they're saying if we are ready and that Pier is available, we will honor our calls. And what we're doing as the BVIPA is keeping all of the cruise partners up to date as to any current status, because all of them are critical to the cruise tourism in our territory, and all of them are important to us. So we're keeping them fully informed almost on a weekly basis.
We are going to, once the Pier, and I'm going to get to you, Brother Clarence. I know you're over there chomping at the bit, but you're going to have your segment where Clyde's going to have to wait.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll be glad. I'll be glad.
We want to get him out of the way. We want to get him out of the way. We are going to fully own the cruise Pier development, the BVI Post Authority, the people of the BVI.
Absolutely.
Okay. And in the fact that we're going to own it, does that mean that we can have total say in what businesses we lease out to, what businesses we have in the facilities, or are the cruise lines going to have a say, and how much of a say they're going to have in what stores and businesses we have in the facilities?
Yeah. The responsibility of the British Virgin Islands Ports Authority is to develop, manage, and to maintain the Pier Park. At no time and in no instances and for no reason does any cruise line usurp any authority over the BVIPA's statutory obligation. So that should be clear. We are owners and operators of the Pier and the park. We have, though, in wisdom, an advisory board that we will put into place where it will include participation from the tourist board, from 2 of the cruise lines, from someone in government, as well as BVIPA staff, that will help to more effectively and efficiently manage the park. There's nothing better than having persons who have 15-year and $100 million commitment, and who knows the industry better than anyone else, giving you the best practices and best advice of what's out there and what's available to us. So they will be serving NCL and DCL in an advisory capacity. But the board of the BVIPA remains autonomous and remains the final arbiter and authority as to what happens at the Pier and the park.
Has the decision been made as to what kind of businesses are going to be allowed to be on the park?
Well, it's a mix. It will be a mixed-use business. It's from affordable to luxury. We are catering to these cruise lines that's here. They're billion-dollar ships. You have a change in clientele. The family who pays $25,000 to $30,000 for a private yacht is the same one now who's taking that cruise and paying that same amount on the cruise, because you have these 5- and 7-star hotels just on the ocean. And so they have the same disposable income and spend. And we know that from our report for BRIA and the FCC that we are a platinum member of, and that provided all that information to us. So as there will be a mixed use out there that allows our people, anyone who's deemed to belong according to the 2007 Constitution of the British Virgin Islands, have first right to pursue the entrepreneurial spirit, the entrepreneurial gift, will be given a fair shake to access to the Pier Park. I must say, and as we have said publicly, we are running a business. It's not a mom and pop shop. And so there are certain rewards and responsibilities that's associated with that. And to the extent that those can be met, we are doing everything in our power to ensure that they are affordable, they're manageable. We will do everything to facilitate their success, because their success, meaning the vendors, the tenants, the merchants, is our success, and therefore the territory's success. So they will have full right. They're going through that process. We have had to date over 178 letters of interest. There's only about how many spaces available?
35 to 45.
There's only about 35 to 45 spaces available.
You have a ratio in mind of foreign to local businesses in the park?
Well, the fact of the matter is, it's all local, because even a foreign business, according to our trade policy, will be required to have a local partner.
And what would be the share and for the local partner? Is
Well,
it a 50-50 share or 51% or how?
The policy dictates that. I think they already have the percentages in the trade policy. I'm not sure what it is, if it's 60-40, but we leave that consideration to the business persons. It's important to satisfy for the BVIPA. All we want satisfied is what our current policy lays out. So we are following that policy.
Okay, we're gonna take a break.
Sure.
For a word from our sponsors, we want to come back. We want to talk about the leasing terms and the impact on the Pier businesses in a road town area. Right after these words from our sponsors. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited and H. Lavity Stout Community College.
Serving the community for over 25 years, Tortola Concrete Limited is the leading producer of concrete products in the BVI with grades of 3,000 to 5,000 PSI. Tortola Concrete ready-mix quality unmatched in the industry, and we can mix to your specification. Our aggregates are clean through our unique washing process for our smooth, clean mix. And our special chilling process makes our concrete crack resistant. Tortola Concrete Limited is the concrete company for all your quality concrete products. Gravel, road base, face stone, boulders, armor rock, coarse sand, terrace, and the cleanest, strongest, crack resistant, ready mix concrete. Tortola Concrete batch plant serve you Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. until the last load. Our knowledgeable, effective staff gives you free estimate and delivers on time to any location. Contact Tortola Concrete at 494-3259, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Conveniently located in Parkwood Pond near the BVI electricity plant. At Tortola Concrete Limited, the strength is in the mix.
He's been working so hard on this. I am so extremely proud of him.
Walter Emerson, writer and philosopher, once said, and I quote, "To finish the moment, to find the journey's end in every step of the road, to live the greatest number of good hours is wisdom."
Being a single parent, my husband died. Juggling work, children, school was tough, but I did it.
I feel like I have a fresh start in life. HLSCC has definitely exceeded my expectations.
I am the younger of two in my family, but I am the first to go off to a university. HLSCC has given me the right job start to pave in my success.
You don't come to college just to come to college. You come to college to graduate.
Just coming out of high school at a very young age, HLSCC was the ideal stepping stone to prepare me for the greater world. It's right at home with great facilities and great lecturers. My college experience was phenomenal.
Do you live? Do your part to stop illegal dumping in our Virgin Islands. Report offenders to the Department of Waste Management at 468-4934.
Tired of your home looking dull and boring? Looking for a new, different look for your home? Come, check out our new addition at Blinds and Things BVI Home Goods. We carry exquisite items for the bedroom, beautiful comforters, flat-free pillows, deep pocket sheets in a rainbow of colors, bathroom, no-slip and non-stick rugs, shower curtains and the hooks to carry. Choose a wide variety of dishes to brighten up the kitchen for the holidays to come. Don't forget our exquisite pieces for the living room, from tall to short vases. Decorate your house with unique pieces from Blinds and Things BVI Home Goods.
visit our showroom located in Skelton Bay Lot, Fish Bay, and you can contact us by email at blindsvi@hotmail.com or call us 284-494-1331.
Cheers to the BVI's Restaurant Week this November 14th to the 23rd. Food lovers, rejoice! This is the week where dining is reduced to meet everyone's budget. Our participating restaurants are opening their doors for you to experience some of the finest cuisine in the British Virgin Islands. Discounted menus make it more inviting for you and your family or friends to enjoy a night of dining. Join us for the visiting chef cook-offs and watch our local chefs compete for the title against the Food Network Chop Champion. Taste of the BVI starts on Tortola at the Noah Lloyd Positive Action Movement Park on November 14th from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. and in Virgin Gordas Yacht Harbor on November 15th from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. Foodie fans, this one is for you. Visit www.bvifoodfed.com for more information.
Welcome back to Spotlight. Having a very important and informative discussion with the director of the BVI Post Authority, Clark Skelton Klein, as well as the managing director of PMI Capital Services, who is the person, the agent for the investment in the Tortola Pier Park Limited. And we were left off talking about the reason for the development of the dock as well as the land site and what it's going to cost and how it's funded and a whole host of information. So we hope that you were listening. Of course, you can see the show or any part that you missed on jtvlive.net. Just click on the Spotlight tab and it'll be there. Also, of course, Spotlight is rebroadcast on Sunday afternoons at 2:30 p.m. So this information, you really need to get this information. We left off talking, of course, beginning to talk about the terms of the lease for the spaces that we want to do business in in the park. What terms are you giving persons who want to do business?
Yeah, well, what we'll be looking for, and by the way, I should add back up to one thing. When we talk about the volume of passengers, the 350,000 plus the 75,000 just total is 425,000 passengers per annum. That's just for the two cruise lines. That does not currently bring into account the other 395,000 passengers that we're getting as we speak. That does not include, at least not since last year, that does not include NCL nor DCL. So really, you'll be looking at over the course of, again, within that 18 to 24 months, we will be over 700,000 passengers, which will be very early in this development for the first time in the history of the BVI. And I want to emphasize and to overemphasize again to all of the taxi personnel, all of the persons with the shops, the businesses throughout the territory, this will be an occasion, a history, a game-changing moment in the history of the BVI where we have 52-week-a-year cruise tourism. Now, what was your other question?
The lease, what kind of lease? What kind of lease are you giving me in the pack?
The terms.
Yeah.
We need you, Cromwell, to sign up, Buddy Edgewinkle, to sign up for at least 3 years. We're looking for long-term use. So we're not really looking for annual lease. It has to be a minimum. Really want 5 and 10-year leases. And the longer the term, the better, the longer commitment, the better the terms there are for you. And so it ranges from $23 to $150 per square foot, based upon location, based upon the quantum of your square footage requirements, etc., etc. We will be issuing draft leases at the end of this week to potential merchants, tenants. We want to have persons sign up by the second week in December. We want to provide them for them at least a 3-month business timeline rather to outfit their businesses that will again lead us back into this April 1st date of 2015, which is very important for us. And so those are the broad strokes in terms of the terms.
And how would you be able to determine how much space you need? Is there some place you could come and look at a plan as to what space is available, how that space is going to be divided up, what you can get, and what you need to take?
Absolutely. Yes.
I mean, there are two things to that. There is one, the initial business proposal and the square footage that you as a business person would propose as adequate space for you to actually perform your services. But also, we also provide the floor plan layout for each specific building that you can have a look at and determine where you would like to place and the size of the space that you would like. So it's a combination of what's available and what you would also need in order to provide the level of services that you offer in terms of your business model.
Do you have a square foot price? Is it going by a square foot price, or is it going by a space size price? How is the pricing done?
Well, that's what I said. It's a range. It goes from the $23 per square foot up to $150,000, based upon location, based upon how much you are acquiring. And I should say that, and I have the greatest staff in the world, but they have been working furiously over the last few weeks, meeting in the one-on-ones with potential merchants, even the ones on the islands, the ones off islands. And so just in the middle of this week, they'll be making the initial presentation that shows the layout, the footprint, how things, what persons have required, the mixture of tenants. So that's happening even now. All of the persons who have signed up have been provided opportunities, on occasions more than one opportunity, come sit with our staff, and they are going through their due diligence in that process as we speak.
Is there still time for people to get on board, or the deadline is passed?
No, unfortunately, that deadline is passed. We issued what, in essence, a tantamount to an expressions of interest. There was a cutoff time, so we are honoring that cutoff date.
Okay. So no one else need apply at this particular point?
Not at this particular time. Of course, if something comes available, we will certainly bring that to the public's attention so that they can respond accordingly.
Of course, there's a big concern about the businesses on the cruise, in the cruise pack, in the Pier pack, affecting, having a negative impact on the businesses on Main Street, in the Old Town area, and in the entire territory. Yeah. How is that issue addressed?
It's going to be a positive impact. It's going to be a tremendously positive impact. Every time you think of this development, from here on in, all you should be thinking about is opportunity, 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 opportunity. You know, when Disney or NCL or Royal or Carnival or whoever pulls up at that pier with those 4,000 passenger ships, you in essence are going to have 8,000 passengers, not counting the crew. That footprint, that volume always matters, because on one hand, you want a third of those persons to go to the marine side, you want a third of them to hang around your park and around town, you want a third to go to your land-based development excursions, the sites, the historic sites. So it's nothing but pure opportunity. The people on Main Street, the people outside of Main Street won't be able to help themselves but to benefit, because the people will be here and they need places to go. They need to ready themselves, lift the quality of their product, the standard of their services, and be prepared to receive persons with disposable incomes in their pocket. The people have the money in their pocket. We have to do everything in our power, again, driven by the standard of service and the quality of the product, how to help them get that money out of their pocket and into yours. So there's nothing but pure opportunities. You imagine the lookout spots, the historic sites. Those are opportunities to start your new business. Anything that's uniquely BVI. It can be a BVI drink. I don't know what it is, lemonade, passion fruit, tamarind. It could be the guava tart. It can be the guava juice. But there's strategic lookout spots where private individuals own. You ought to be thinking and coming to us now. When they're coming, what do we have to do to build up our property so that the taxi men and women can make their stops? The historic sites, there should be materials, souvenirs. You can build and should build an entire industry of selling the BVI in the most positive ways around those opportunities.
People say, going to cut you off, but people say that most of these people stay in the park, or in countries where you have Pier parks, for lack of a different word, or private islands for people, passengers to visit. They usually stay on those private islands, and they don't have opportunities to get off some of them.
Well, of course, if it's a private island, then of course you're relegated to the privacy of the island. You don't have the mobility. What's good about the BVI-PA and our territory is that we have an open park. This park will be open not just when cruise ships are in, but even when cruise ships are not. It's an open park. Also,
so the visitors have freedom to move. There's no restriction.
There's free range. And listen, the BVI has the highest guest expectation. That's not just what we say. That's the fact. It's reflected in the survey. We have the highest guest expectation. We seem to be what the CEO of Disney Cruise Line. We are the last virgin bastion in the region. We are the virgin territory. We have the highest guest expectation. What happens, unfortunately, when they come, if there's not enough to see and experience, and if there's not a story being told about who the BVI is, the nature of us and the character of us, then they go back and say, I was expecting more. So here it is, an opportunity for us to up our game, to begin to tell a story of our history, our rich culture, our rich heritage, to begin to rebuild our historic sites and wrap services around that services persons who already have. So when they hear BVI, they hear international, they hear novelty, they hear a certain level of virginity, for lack of another word, but they want to know what it is. And so it's a grand opportunity for both entrepreneurs, employment opportunities, as we bring this development on stream.
Brother Faulkner, it's your turn. This brother here. You got to talk us. I mean, the information is really important.
Passionate about
he's passionate about it. He's excited.
Yes.
He's excited. But the information is important. The land side development.
Yes.
Be funding through a loan offering the pair, and we funding, how we funding the land side development?
Well, the land side development is will be funded in two different tranches. One being a capital injection from the Ports Authority, and the second being the public offering that has been launched of $16.5 million of preference shares. So the preference shares, the proceeds from the $16.5 million public offering will be used to help construct the landside development project.
Okay. Now, what form this offering takes?
Okay. The offering thus far, what we've done is the total offering, like I mentioned earlier, is $16.5 million. It's broken down into three classes of shares. Class A, which is 3 million of Class A shares paying a dividend of 5.75% for a period of 7 years. There's Class B of 3.5 million shares at 6.75% in dividends for a period of 10 years. And the last class is Class C, which is 10 million shares at 8.45% over a period of 10 years, over a period of 15 years, sorry, for the total of
so the longer you leave the money and
the higher the dividend
payment.
Higher the
dividend payment. All right. Is there a criteria for investment? Is it open to everybody who wants to invest, whether you're from here or not, anybody hearing about
Well, what we've done initially is we've broken the offering now into 3 series. Series 1, Series 2, and Series 3. Series 1 is the attempt to raise $6.5 million in the first series, and that series opened on October 13th, and it will run for 45 days. And after that, we will launch Series 2 and Series 3. The first series, which is 1 million of Class A, 1.5 million of Class B, and 4 million of Class C. That gives us the ability to gauge the public's interest and then subsequently decide how we open Series 2 and Series 3 going forward.
So is it going to, do we have to be a BVI lender to
yes,
get shares?
Yes. Right now the public offering is only open to BVI lenders.
And depends on how successful that is, yes. Then you'll make a decision on whether to open it up to the world.
Wow. Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a contingency plan that basically says if the offering is oversubscribed, then it provides us the opportunity to keep allowing only BVI lenders to run. If the deal is undersubscribed, it gives us the flexibility to now adjust the offering to continue moving towards raising the funding.
Because the goal is to raise the funding.
The goal is to raise the funding.
But I think it is important here, Cromwell, to note, again, opportunity. What we want BVI lenders to hear us say, and what we want them to understand has been set foundationally, is that it provides for them an opportunity, one, that they can become a tenant, a business owner on this Pier Park. Two, that they can invest in the very product where they are leasing and being a businessman or woman from. And so there are at least two opportunities in there to own a piece of the rock that you are doing business on, make a return on that investment through your ownership, your preference share ownership, as well as you are pursuing your dream and fulfilling your ambition and having a business in your country.
As an entrepreneur.
And we do not want people to miss that. This is the grandest opportunity. You and I came along a little later, and we didn't have a chance to own, a lot on Wakeham Ski. This is an opportunity, be it for 7 years or 10 years or 15 years. You have a chance to own piece of the rock, and you have a chance to operate your business from that very same rock.
Okay. Is there minimum investment?
Yes, 5,000.
Okay. So, and 5,000 will get you. 5,000 for what period of time will get you how much interest return?
Well, once there's a minimum investment of 5,000 for any class of shares. Let me go back and say that each class has the same value in terms of $1 per share. So it doesn't matter whether it's A, B, or C. It's still $1 per share at a minimum of 5,000. So 5,000 gets you an interest in either A, B, or C, depending on your profile. Now, to go back to the point that you raised in terms of is the investment open to all? Quite naturally, yes. The short answer is yes in terms of the offering is open to the public in terms of BVI lenders. But I must say from an investment point of view, while it's available to all, I have to say that it's not for everyone. The individual who has just attained a savings of $5,000 and doesn't know what their obligations is going to be a year, 2 or 3 years down the road, this is not something I would readily recommend that you participate in, simply because if it so happens that you need the proceeds a year or 2 or maybe 3 years from now, the offering provides, or your interest provide, that if you invest in Class A, you are locked into that period for a 7-year period. Even though you're getting the dividends annually in terms of every December, your principal is locked in for the duration of the class that you've invested in.
So if you only have a savings of $5,000 and you took that $5,000 and bought shares for 7 years or for 10 years, you have to leave that money there. You can't go.
Yes,
you can't go and take it out and say, well, listen.
It's only redeem on the redemption date. It's not redeemable if you run into a crisis, so to speak. Okay. So what I'd like people.
Can you sell your shares? Are your shares transferable? Can I bring Claude and say, listen, Claude, I need to get some money out of this thing. I need that $5,000 back. Do you want to buy those shares and give me the $5,000?
That's something that we've discussed. If you have a shareholder that's in the same class and has similar holdings, if there's a mutual understanding, then what we can do is make the recommendation to the board of directors, and if they agree to pick up the shares, then yes, that's something that can happen. However, I must say that the individual cannot, let's say for instance, transfer. If they started with a 15-year tranche, they cannot then say, well, I'm thinking now that I cannot last for 15 years. I'd like to now convert it to a 7-year tranche. That's not possible, because the idea is that the Class A shares would have been subscribed fully, and there would be no shares to pick up in Series A if they're fully subscribed. Right?
And so what I should say is that when you're drilling down to that level of specificity, we do really want to encourage persons to call Clarence, make that appointment, his office available. He is on his game and can answer you very specifically in those details. So while there's a transferability clause within our prospectus, there are some stipulations that will need to be looked at closely in terms of how those shares are handled. But if you are in that category, don't guess about it and just don't say what I'm not. We want you to make the call, get the appointment, come in and sit and make an intelligent decision based upon accurate information.
Yeah. The key thing is understanding your financial being. If you have the proceeds, and obviously you have the proceeds that you'd prefer to gain a higher return versus what you would, let's say, for instance, get on a savings rate or a bank CD, then here's an opportunity for you to sit down and do some sort of comparison to make sure that you can afford to put that money away for a period of time.
Okay. And of course, you're available to have this financial advisory discussion with a person who wants to invest in the PAC.
Well, that's what we've been doing in terms of persons coming in and saying they've expressed an interest. And one of the questions that we've gone beyond the call of duty to do is to then say to them, do you understand the rationale of why you would want to take on this? How does it impact your overall financial welfare? And if that is something that they're comfortable with and they understand, then it's a matter of having them understand the particulars associated with the offering, the park, and the Pier Park that will drive the offering.
Yeah. Okay. And I should add, Clarence and his group at PMI, who manages the BVIPA pension, even predates my getting there. I mean, Clarence, these guys, he's the guru. They are excellent at what they do. And so that's why we were able to join them in this partnership as the placement agent, the one who can speak to very adequately and accurately in terms of the intelligentsia that's coming out of this. And we've also part of this team, Sheila George and her team at Harney's as our registrar agent. So I say that to say that I want the public to know that we have wrapped around this who we believe is the best team in the territory, and who they can be confident and comfortable to ensure that their investment, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000 or $5 million, will be well cared for. That the fiduciaries that we wrapped around this supersede whatever skill set is needed to ensure that their investment is protected and taken care of.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the security of the investment and how it's guaranteed and what the risk factors are as well. So keep it locked right here, the Spotlight. We are going to come back and continue the discussion about the investment and whether there are limits to the amount of shares you can purchase, and what the decisions that you need to, what that entitles you to, that investment entitles you to in terms of influence in the board. All these questions are going to be answered right here on Spotlight tonight. Don't go away. We will be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands and CCT Global Communications.
What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life? Hanging out on the corner where there is no future. What are you doing with your life? Tell me, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life? That's what you should do with your life.
Littering is a criminal offense under the Littering Abatement Act. Our litter wardens and police officers are hunting for litterers. You will be caught when you least expect. Litterers are subject to a $500 fine or 3 months in prison. Stop littering in our country. You are hurting our environment and you are hurting our economy.
It's not even about being bigger. David and Goliath taught us that it's about being better than you were yesterday. At CCT, we're committed to building on better. Better music downloads, better videos, better online gaming, better internet so your kids can get their homework done at better hours, better customer support with when you need it the most. A better everything makes a better BVI, so that you could work better and live better. You see, at CCT, we're not only a local company, we're a better company with the real 4G network. Visit your CCT flagship store today and experience CCT Life Unlimited.
Have you heard? Clarence Summers Limited Home Centers is making things more affordable in the British Virgin Islands. We are making things better for you during these hard times by reducing prices throughout our stores, using our new pricing strategy. But wait, there's more. Created exclusively for our loyal customers, now there's a rewards program implemented just for you. Sign up to become a loyalty member and be the first to get member perks such as exclusive email offers, members-only discounts, private sales event, and much, much more. Our loyalty program gives you savings and benefits that will be equal to or better than our crazy sales of past years. With our loyalty program, you'll get monthly specials on items exclusively only for our loyalty customers at prices that won't be matched. Enroll in our loyalty program today. It's free. It's easy. Get ready, BVI, for lower prices at Clarence Summers Limited Home Centers. Clarence Summers Limited, your number one stop for the best products at the lowest prices, period. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
Tired of your home looking dull and boring? Looking for a new, different look for your home? Come, check out our new addition at Blinds and Things BVI Home Goods. We carry exquisite items for the bedroom, beautiful comforters, flat-free pillows, deep pocket sheets in a rainbow of colors, bathroom, no-slip and non-stick rugs, shower curtains, and the books to carry. Choose a wide variety of dishes to brighten up the kitchen for the holidays to come. Don't forget our exquisite pieces for the living room, from tall to short vases. Decorate your house with unique pieces from Blinds and Things BVI Home Goods. Visit our showroom located in Skelton Bay Lot, Fish Bay, and you can contact us by email at blindsvi@hotmail.com or call us 284-494-1331.
Cheers to a month of mouth-watering events. Join us this November for a series of exciting culinary experiences such as the Barefoot Gourmet Soiree, with proceeds donated towards hospitality scholarships for local students. Or experience an evening with our participating hotels, hosting visiting chefs from around the globe. Join our Restaurant Week cook-offs and sample special discounted menu items. Every Friday of the month, our chefs prepare savory local dishes. Head to Virgin Gorda for the first ever On the Rocks bar crawl. This food-filled month climaxes on the Drowned Island at the 2nd Annual Anegada Lobster Festival. Visit www.bbifoodfet.com or call the BVI Tourist Board at 284-494-3134 for more details.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm here with the Director of BVI Post Authority, Claude Klein, and the Managing Director of PMI Capital Services, Clarence Faulkner, and we're at this point where we are talking about the investment in the landside development special purpose vehicle of the Tortola Pier Park Limited. And I want to know, to continue the discussion, Clarence, is there a limit to the shares we can buy?
No.
So I could buy any amount of the 16,500,000 shares you're selling?
If you wanted to take out the entire deal, well, yes, you could.
Okay.
But unfortunately, you can't do that because we've had investors that have already subscribed, so the full allotment is not available.
Let me ask you, how is that going? How is the investment going? People are had at it. People coming at you. People are interested. How is the interest?
One of the things that we found very interesting is that there are indigenous BVI landers who reside in the UK, in the US, and anywhere around the world who have actually reached out and said, how can I be a part of this? So we've had the expression of interest. We've sent out the information. Over the last week, I think what has happened is a lot of persons have been collecting the information and are now taking the opportunity to complete the requisite forms and determine what their investment is going to be. So we've even had persons who have traveled from St. Thomas to come over just to pick up the offering documents and take them back. And what we've been doing is asking them to review the prospectus. And upon review of the prospectus, if there's any additional information that they'd like to see or like to discuss, we'll make ourselves available to share the information with them.
Okay. That brings to my mind a trend of in a type of person who is familiar and accustomed to these types of investment, like and people in New York, for example, or in America, for example, I should say, customer invested in Wall Street and in stocks and bonds, and they know how these things work. Perhaps BVI lenders in the BVI may need a little bit more education about how these types of investments.
And it's one of the reasons why we say come in and have a discussion with us, because one of the things that we also recognize is that you may be surprised with the amount of people that are very familiar with investment terms, but I've come to realize in this process is that BVI are what I would consider a very private people, in the sense that they understand if they're going to participate in something, they're going to do it privately. They like their information kept very private and confidential. Yeah. And it's not to say that you don't see them and they don't know. I think they know, but they would prefer to do their thing and stay quiet about it. So, and you have to respect that.
So nobody knows that you, me, and Claude, we have about 1 million shares. We don't buy out 1 million shares, and we sit here together talking. And I don't know that he got 1 million shares. He doesn't know I got 1 million shares. And none of us know you got 1 million shares.
And it's in our interest, of course, to protect anyone who would invest in this development. And what we should add that we believe in the first series is going so well. So whether you are a singular person or a person that operates a business or an institution, as long as, again, you qualify under the category that you deem to belong, you can invest. So in this first series, it's going very well. We will say that much. It's going very well. And we believe that we'll be able to even accelerate the pace of which we issue that second series. So we want you to come quickly and participate in that offering.
I wanted that the government should have the territory fund the whole project instead of going to the bank at all. So, the $57 million that we would invest in that $57 million, and you'll pay us back the interest, and we won't pay no more interest to the bank. Why couldn't we have done that?
Well, that's an ideal world.
Yeah.
And we would wish, I'm sure, of the same thing. We know that is not the case, and therefore why we have the mechanism of the loan funded. But in the ideal world, that would be great. But we live in a real world. This is not Disney World.
But let's just say that we were able to get the BVI lenders to invest on that level where we could actually raise the $57 million. Is there a provision in the $35 million loan where we could take that money and pay that off and keep that interest flowing towards us?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts there that I would caution you with, simply because we've thrown around the figure anywhere from 56 to 58 million as it relates to this project. Trying to raise $58 million in such a small community can be quite challenging, from the perspective that if you're limiting the investment to BVI lenders, if the population in the BVI right now is roughly $28,000 to $30,000, you're looking at 12,000 being indigenous persons. And you're asking 12,000 to come up with approximately $46,000 per person to try and raise 58 million. You could understand the dynamics of that.
That's a challenge.
And it will be a challenge. I think one of the things that can be looked at maybe later on in life is how do we value the asset of the Pier Park and the pier combined and decide, is that something we want to refinance and restructure? Because now what you have is hard asset. You have a facility that is properly valued, well functioning, full to capacity, and operating at its highest efficiency. that gives you the ability to now attract investors, because they can actually see and feel that this project is now completed.
What is return on investment?
The return on the investment, as I mentioned, is dividends based on the classes. As I mentioned, for Class A, it's 5.75%. For Class B, it's 6.75% for a period of 10 years. And for Class C, it's 8.45% for a period of 15 years.
And how is that dividend distributed and at what times?
Let's say, for instance, you invested $10,000 on November 1st of this year, which would have been last Saturday. Your first dividend payment would have been December 2015, which would have been next year. So what you would receive is for 14 months worth of dividends on, let's say, for instance, January 2016, because it's no sense paying dividend during the construction period, which is the period from now until March next year, or to February next year. So the dividend will start to accrue from the time you become a preference shareholder until the first year has elapsed, or the first calendar year has elapsed, which would have been December. So it would have been, it will be from November to December, and then a full year. And then every December thereafter, you will receive the dividend payment. And then on the 10th year, you receive the dividend payment on redemption plus your investment of the example $10,000 that was used.
Okay. So in simple language, if I if I invested $10,000 last Saturday, roughly what my dividend would be in 14 months from now.
14 months from now, your dividend will be, based on the Class C, which was 675, will be $787.50.
Okay.
And then every year thereafter, because it's the 10-year tranche, you will receive $675 per year until year 9. On year 10, you will receive 11/12 of the dividend, which works out to be roughly $618 plus the $10,000 for a total of $10,618 for that year, because you're getting your investment back. So for the full 10-year period, a $10,000 investment will draw you roughly $16,800.
So you're going to make about $6,000 for the 10-year period?
Over the 10-year period.
Over the 10-year period. Okay. How does that compare to put in that same amount of money, that $10,000 in a CD in the bank? The CD is the highest interest we get in the bank now, right?
Right now in the territory, the highest we have seen based on our research is roughly 1.3%. So if you look at a CD over the same period, and there's one thing I need to clarify, assuming a single payment strategy, meaning that in most CDs in the bank, they are based on compound interest where they continue accumulating and roll over. But if you're comparing apples and apples and you're saying you're using the same single payment, because under the deal, you will receive your dividend check every year. You may decide on a CD, however, to constantly roll it over. But with the rate at 1.3%, assuming that the rate stays constant over the 10-year period, you will receive $130 per year, comparing with $675 coming. So over the 10-year period, you would have received $16,806 on the Pier Park offering, but you would have only received $11,310 on a CD.
So you would have made $5,000 more.
An investment in the Pier Park will earn you roughly $5,500 more than leaving the money on a certificate.
Okay, I think that's important. That's important for us, for us to know. Now, speaking of rolling over, can I leave that interest in the investment and increase the investment in the Pier Park?
I mean, it's a great question. It's a question that we've been getting now, where individuals are saying, instead of collecting my dividend annually, as one gentleman said to me, Mr. Faulkner, if you give me that $675 every year, consider it debt. Because of the way the offering is structured, we have to pay the dividend annually. Simply because if we don't pay the dividend and we accrue the dividend, it means now that the financials of the SPV will now show that we have a debt obligation to pay to our shareholders. By eliminating the debt and paying the debt right away, the financials and the strength of the SPV remain strong.
Yeah.
Right? So we pay out that dividend annually and not have an obligation on the books.
Okay. You've been watching a conversation with Brother Clark Skelton Klein and Brother Clarence Faulkner. We're talking about the landside development and the expansion of the cruise pier here in the territory, and how you can invest in what stages we are at right now. The phone lines are open. The phone number is going to come up on the screen. You can call and ask whatever questions I forgot to ask, and I know I've been asking a lot of questions. We have about 15 minutes more remaining in the program, and we are hoping that you'll be interested in some of the questions that I neglected to ask. You will get an opportunity to ask them. So you can call up right now and ask any questions to any one of my guests about whatever it is your concerns are regarding the development of the project.
But Speaker, you allow me to put a plug on here, because Clarence and the team of the BVI PA will be roaming the entire territory, including the sister islands, again disseminating this information. We'll be on Virgin Gorda on tomorrow at 7:00 p.m. We will be in the Catholic Community Center, where Clarence will be making a presentation, a comprehensive presentation on the opportunity for the public offering. So we're inviting all of our good people in the Virgin Gorda to share with us at 7:00 p.m. on tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening, 7:00 p.m. at the Catholic Community Center, to hear for yourself and to receive the package in person. Ask whatever questions you may wish relative to the cruise ship pier development. That's tomorrow, 7 p.m. at the Catholic Community Center.
Okay, great. I was asking a question, I'm not sure I got the answer, about the influence of persons in the decision-making process of the management of the PAC and the port coming out of their investment. So if I'm an investor, say I invest $10,000 in the project, do I have a say in, for example, how the space is?
I think the point that you're getting at is the issue of voting rights.
Voting rights.
There are two specific classes of shares. There's common shares, which is completely issued and subscribed to the BVIPA. They're the common shareholders. They own the SPV, which owns the assets of the Pier Park. They continue to hold the common shares, which provide voting rights for the operating and management of the SPV, which controls, like I said, the assets of the Pier Park. The preference shares does not afford members the opportunity to vote in terms of the operation of the SPV and the Pier Park. What they in turn receive is the accumulated dividend for their investment in the Pier Park.
And so another way to put that is that the BVIPA, as it has been, will continue to be operator and final arbiter and decision maker as to the Pier Park. We should say, Clarence probably know that it's $1 per share, right? So the preference, it's all
equal across the board.
Equal across the board.
Yeah. Okay. Now, many persons, I'm sure, are concerned about the security of the investment. How can I feel confident that I'm not going to invest my $10,000 or my $500,000, and then later on down the road, in the 7-year or the 10-year period, you tell me, well, by Cromwell, we know you invest $100,000, but things didn't turn out how we had planned, and I lose my money. One of the things. What are the risk factors, and how can I feel confident in investing?
I think the operative word that you just used is the risk. And one of the things that we spent quite a bit of time is identifying some of those risks and how could we address them by applying mitigating factors to those. The key thing here is the BVIPA, as a creature of statute, a statutory body under government, have established an SPV, and the SPV is a special purpose vehicle, which is an entity that is created solely for the purpose of owning this asset. It is isolated from the BVIPA and whatever challenges that they may or may not bring. The sole purpose of the SPV is to provide for this single asset. Now, what we need to ensure is that this single asset is actually performing the way it should, that gives investors that level of confidence that they may want to participate in this. The key thing for any investor and any investment is to make sure that whatever the investment is, it is generating enough cash flow to be in order for it to honor its commitment. Now, what's going to drive the cash stream in this project is the rental income from the vendor slots that is rented to vendors and tenants. Now, the MD mentioned earlier that the range of fees range from $23 to $150. You mentioned that there is 178 persons and businesses that have expressed an interest. What that has afforded the BVIP to do is to create an ambience, but more importantly, to create a rental stream that is locked in for periods of time. He mentioned the issue of contracts for 3 to 5 to 10 years. And what that does is it solidifies and creates anchor tenants that persons are not concerned about whether or not we're actually going to be collecting the rent or not collecting the rent. Because by collecting that and continuously collecting that income stream, it affords us the ability to pay the dividends. Now, are there other external factors? Of course. There's natural disasters. There is earthquakes, hurricanes. For the last 100 years, we see that the BVI has sat in the middle of the hurricane belt. What's the impact here in the BVI? Well, the impact primarily will be storm surge based on where we are. There's been environmental assessment reports being done. There's geotechnical surveys being done to determine the strength of the foundation of the SPV. All of that information in there. And let me say, if anyone wants to see that information, they can view it at our offices at any time. Because what we've done is we've gone through and have continued to go through any possible avenue that is a risk. But how can we address that risk by providing mitigating factors to make sure an investor is comfortable taking that risk?
Okay. Now, you talk about rents from the place, but those rents are going to be based on the traffic and the spending power of persons that visit the territory, the tourists that comes in
remember one of the things that the MD mentioned, and I want to go back to in echo as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to establish a pier park that is the norm of quote-unquote mom and pop shops. What you're trying to do is to create an ambience that the persons visiting the park will want to participate in the park. Now, the issue of the pier and the extension and widening of the pier to attract the cruise ships that are there, what that does is it feeds the pier park in terms of generating traffic through the pier park. Now, the businesses that are going to be established there are hopefully businesses that create and complement the unique experience of the overall BVI. So the traffic coming through the pier park and the businesses that are there, hopefully that traffic generates the income that keeps those businesses viable. And that's the operative word. Once those businesses are viable, then they should not have any problems honoring their rental commitments.
Is the head tax going to be a part of the revenue generation stream that is going to be translated into dividends for the investor in the SPV?
The financial model as it currently stands for the SPV shows the rental leases, the rental revenue stream as more than sufficient to honor that commitment to public offering. But here's a good thing that the investor should know. At the end of the day, TPPL is owned by BVIPA. BVIPA is singularly and solely owned by the central government. And it doesn't matter who the government of the day is. On a matter of this magnitude that affects tourism, this project under no circumstances will ever be allowed to fail. Because if it ever fails for any reason, you are in essence will be shutting down the largest segment of your tourism part of the growing segment of your tourism part of cruise tourism. So I set it out there in the practical term for persons to understand in terms of, we can't use words like security and guarantee. We can't do that. But what persons need to know in terms of how the protocols, how things are laid out, is that the TPPL, which is just a SPV, a vehicle that helps bring the offering, the BVIPA at the day will honor its commitment. It has a history of doing so, will continue to do so. And if just there should be some Armageddon, something just beyond our control, it's backed by the government. You have to remember that $35 million is a guarantee by the government of the British Virgin Islands, signed off by the United Kingdom government. This is not just, again, to use the word, some mom and pop fiasco. This is serious and real business, and where you can be comfortable and be confident about investing in this development, because at the end of the day, the BVIPA and central government, according to statute and act, is responsible for making this thing a tremendous success. But the financial model on its own, as Clarence has said, it speaks for itself. So that there won't even be a need for that. The revenues are there. We have tenants from the big anchor tenants of the industry to the smaller entrepreneur of the BVI, who is biting at the bit to have access to what would be a minimum of 8,000 passengers on any given day, sometimes 2 days in the same week. And so there's ample opportunity here to generate a multiplicity of revenue streams that will help to service whatever debt or obligations we may have.
Okay. We finally at 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And anything I forgot to ask Clarence concerning the investment? I've asked a lot of questions. I think I've tried my best to clarify as much of the public's concern as possible, but I may, of course, have missed something, not being an expert in this field.
I think one of the things that persons tend to take for granted is how important the issue of the tourism sector is in the BVI. One of the things that we spent a little bit of time on is trying to look at and get meaningful data in terms of the direct and the indirect impact this industry has on the BVI. What we discovered is in 2013, 3,300 jobs were directly related to the industry. And when I say the industry, I'm talking about boat cruise and land-based tourism. But the key thing is the indirect impact, which was an additional 6,900 jobs created in the BVI because of the direct relation to tourism. And I think a total of over 9,000 jobs created in this industry is not something that should be easily overlooked, because we can sit here and think that, because I've heard the public perception, and it's something that we've analyzed deeply, that we may not need this, or we don't this is not going to work. The BVI doesn't need this. I think taking some time and looking at the numbers and understanding the in-depth ramifications of not having it, then we begin to realize and appreciate the importance of it.
Clarence, how can people get a hold of you? Tell the audience phone number and location.
We can be reached via email at pierpark@pmipensions.com. The offices are located on the second floor, Mill Mall. The telephone number is 494-4484. That's how they can reach us.
And if you don't remember all of that, you could call BVI Post Authority, and they'll be able to
absolutely contact us. Edgewenka, we are grateful that you have taken the time to have us on. We will be hitting all of the talk show, television shows, getting this information out. We want to share with the public what's available to them. This is an exciting time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be a BVI lander, because it's a great time to be a part and to grow with the growth of your own territory. So we don't want persons to miss this. Take full advantage of the best thing in town, what's happening to BVIPA at the cruise ship pier development.
Well, we certainly look forward to the completion, and we look forward to all the good things that is going to come out of this development. Yes. Thanks for being my guest. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the information, and appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Yes, Spotlight is seen every Tuesday at 8 p.m., every Tuesday live at 8 p.m. here on JTV Channel 55, and rebroadcast Sundays at 2:30 p.m. All the Spotlights you miss is on jtvlive.net. You can log on and get your, catch up with your Spotlights. Of course, You can follow me, follow Spotlight on Facebook. You can suggest topics, suggest guests, have discussions about issues that's focused on, comes out of Spotlight. So don't forget to log on to JTV and to follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your words of encouragement. Thank you for your criticism. I'm always glad to hear from you. Continue to email us at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com. I'm Edjuenka, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited and H. Lavity Stout Community College.